Oh, humans, it is finally time that we build the most powerful deck of all time on the channel yet again. Pacifist, Phantasm Spiral, the penultimate Yu-Gi-Oh deck, untouchable by anything in the modern metagame. It is just undeniable. Or we could just be realistic. It's a cool rogue deck. I do think, well, it's more like a cool stun deck. I do think this is like a pretty cool anti-meta deck. Always has been. I really do. I mean, I've seen people top locals with this deck. You have to respect it because it can play so many nasty stuff like floodgates, hand traps that other decks can't play, and just a lot of scary trap cards in general. Plus, its field spell just generates so much advantage. I could make an argument that, like, as far as what it does for its archetype, like, Pacifist is like the most like engine producing field spell for an archetype like we've ever seen in Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, there's definitely an argument there. But yeah, that's a video for another day. Today, let's get into this profile. We really only got, I would say, one new card out of the new set that really is Phantasm Spiral support. But I would also add that outside of that, we have gotten, like, over the years, since the last time I've touched this archetype at all, like a handful of cards that you'll see here that, like, literally didn't exist, like, 3 years ago. And so, like, you're like, oh, yeah, we have kind of gotten some random low-key, like, Phantasm support. So you'll see, but let's get moving into it. Starting off with our monster lineup, triple Megalo Smasher X. This is super standard in the deck. I know there are people that have messed around with like the Mech Knight package because, what is it? World Legacy Memory just kind of tallies them out. That's pretty good. But I don't think you need to worry too much about that because our new card like kind of helps facilitate that. But yeah, Megalo Smasher, one of the better ones just because it's 2,000. It's the biggest, you know, about as big as you can get for a vanilla, but it's also water, and that helps as well. I do also play one additional copy of Gaga Gigo. It doesn't have to be Gaga Gigo, but he is just the next highest statted water vanilla in the game. So, like, obviously, if you can't play 4 Megalo Smasher, you got to play the next highest one. There's a handful of 18s, but he's the only 1850, which, you know, theoretically could come up. You look at Sword Soul, like, if you negate a Taya or a Moye, they're stuck with an 1800 beater. This guy clears those, as well as stuff like an Aluber that comes back. You can still clear over an 1800 Aluber with this. So there's, like, random 1800s that this card does come up for. So that is nice. But yeah, basically you just need another name. I'll talk about that. It's just like a mathematics thing when we get to the new spell card. There. And then the only other monster I play is a hand trap, and it's also the only hand trap I play as well. Triple copies of Dimension Shifter. This card to me just feels too impactful not to play. This deck cannot really afford to just play like a ton of hand traps because then you're just going to see too many hand traps, which are just overall not strong enough, right? You want to see floodgates. You want to see cards that just straight up say your opponent cannot play at all. You want one card that trades for 2 or 3 instead of like a bunch of hand traps that trade 1-for-1s, pretty much is like the idea. And this does not conflict with the deck at all. And it is the one hand trap that I felt that like I could draw, and in like certain matchups, like if I drop this, like literally my opponent just passes. And that's what I want. I want a hand trap where I don't have to commit a ton of main deck slots to, but it does give me a chance to go second, and my opponent just say, yep, I can't play, go for it. And give you an actual chance, essentially just let you go first for the duel, which is really good, and I value that highly. Okay, that's it for the monsters. 7 in the main, really funny. Moving on to the spells. Obviously, we start off here with Pacifist. This card is insane. If you don't know what it is, very brief overview. If any normal monster is summoned, you can add a Phantasm Spiral spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, or actually card. It's any Phantasm Spiral card. Oh no, there is the monster, the vanilla guy, right? So technically you could add him. And then once per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon a Phantasm token. Is that what it's called? A Phantasm token? Phantasm Spiral token. It's a 2K, level 8 water worm. Which is pretty beefy, 2K, which by the way does trigger the other effect to search, which is really good. So yeah, that's pretty much what it does. It gives you a token and then it just searches you one of your in-archetype cards. Very good. Keep in mind the token summoning effect is not a hard once per turn. You just have to not control the token anymore. and you cannot summon any effect monsters the turn you use either of these effects. So that's the one kind of drawback there for sure. But still, at the end of the day, this card is so crazy. It gets you so much advantage over the course of a duel, and you have to find it if you want to win duels. Speaking of which, just to find it, terraforming, essentially play 4 copies of it. You could also play a Mystic Mine or something like that if you wanted, just to add a little bit of going second potential there. I just hate Mystic Mine. I hate playing it, hate playing against it. It sucks. Moving on, more consistency. The new card, Fish Sonar. It's a search spell, which is really weird, but like it works. Here's what this card says. Add a level 7 or lower water monster, or send any monster from your deck to your hand that mentions Umi or is a water normal monster. Then, if Umi is on the field, you can special summon a water normal monster straight from your deck. Now, one more hint on this card. Pacifist, by the way, does count as Umi while on the field or in the graveyard. So if you have Pacifist up, this card will add you a water vanilla, and then it will special you a water vanilla. So just off of that, you already go +1. Then once you normal summon, or once you special summon the second monster, while you have Pacifist up, you then get to search off of Pacifists, and you still haven't summoned a token. So when you summon a token on your opponent's turn, you're going to search again. So you'll literally go like +3 or 4 over the course of like 1 or 2 turns. It is absolutely insane if you open this with Phantasm Spiral. And it just helps you find your monsters, which will help you apply more pressure to the board state. One of the problems with the deck for sure would just be when you end up with like not being able to keep monsters on the field. And so this card helps us more consistently find that. The only thing I could ever wish for this card is that it said like add a monster or add an Umi itself. That would have been the other thing. Oh, I'm sorry. I actually said Pacifist counts as Umi on field or in grave. It always counts. So if this card just added Umi, you'd literally just be able to search Pacifist with it. So that'd be really funny, but unfortunately, you cannot do that. I have to know, because I was going to say, can I look up Warrior of Atlantis? Does he search Umi? Does he search a Legendary Ocean? I'm pretty sure he searches a Legendary Ocean. But if he searched Umi, you'd be able to like use this to search him, and then he could search a Pacifist, which would be insane. But unfortunately, we missed the mark there just a little bit. That would definitely be a one of I would play, but he does search the wrong field spell. Moving into the pots, triple extravagance and also triple duality. I'm just going in on these. Again, if you don't find Pacifist, you are going to have a low percentage win rate for sure. So I wanted these. I guess the only argument you could throw here is like, John, I know it's not budget, but like, why not play Prosperity if you have to find Pacifist? It does raise your odds a little bit over extravagance. I agree with you, but I would also say that at the end of the day, Pacifist is an underpowered deck, not just a deck where if you don't find your field spell, you have trouble. So this card kind of does both. It helps with the consistency of finding Pacifist while also helping with the ability to like just go plus and find more cards and have more powerful plays turn one. And so because of that, I respect this card because of the plus at the same time, just because the deck kind of needs the power and the consistency. The last spell I play is called. There's a couple cards that can like really put a damper on the deck, so like having access to call is just really good, and it's kind of just like another trap. You could easily play something else because this deck obviously doesn't pop off super hard, so we're not that worried about hand traps, but you could just play another trap card if you wanted over that. Or I even considered playing something like Demise of the Land just to help me get Pacifist like straight out of the deck. You know, just something to consider. And now I move to our Engine Traps, Triple C Stealth Attack. This card was literally designed just to be played in Pacifist. This card is so crazy. It protects all of your face-up spell traps, including itself. It allows you to run over any monster using the token, and it can actually reactivate an Umi from hand or grave when it's activated. So even if your opponent outs a Pacifist, this can get it back. So as long as you find one copy of Pacifist, it makes you even more consistent, even if your opponent gets through it, because then that adds 3 more copies of a card that gets you to a Pacifist. It's so good. Then for the for the Phantasm Spiral traps, we have triple Spiral Battle and double Spiral Power. These are hand traps in their own right. They say if you control a normal monster, they can activate, but if you have Umi on the field, they can actually activate from the hand. So you don't even have to set these. That's insanely good as well, because we can search them on the opponent's turn. They will immediately be live as long as we still have a vanilla. But yeah, these are really good. This card just literally says target a card on the field and destroy it. And this one says target a monster, negate its effects, and it loses 1,000. So also makes that monster just a big old weenie. I respect both of these immensely, especially power. I should have respected this more, especially with stuff like Guardian Chimera in the game now, where like Despia's trying to like Guardian Chimera you, but you have to respond to it because it's just gonna like wipe out all of your cards at once, and that's how trap decks just lose, by not being able to like respond to Guardian Chimera. So stuff like that, like big blowout cards that like you need to respond to. Definitely really nice to have something like power in the deck for those scenarios. Only 2 of it though. It feels like when you play too many of these, you just draw too many, and if you don't draw a pacifist or a vanilla, these just become completely dead, and it's really bad. There, and the last like engine trap would be Metaverse. This card just gets you pacifist. That's pretty much it. 5th hard copy of it before you even consider like the pots and other consistency stuff. There. Then we get to our defensive traps. 10 of them here, I believe. Here's my removal one, Dogmatica Punishment. You could also look at playing something like Torrential Tribute here if you wanted. I would not blame you for that. I just like the extra utility of Punishment for sure. So really good card. This card was not out 3 years ago, so this is a card that kind of adds a little extra but also different oomph that Torrential doesn't. So like that kind of is kind of cool because like you don't use the extra deck in this list like at all. Triple Solemn Strike, just one of the best traps going second, right? You apply pressure with other interruptions, and then when they're forced to respond, you strike them and clear their board. Really cool. This plus punishment's like really strong. And then for Floodgates, I have double There Can Be Only One and double Skill Drain. These are pretty good. You could play 3 and 3 if you want, or 3 of one of these if you wanted. But like obviously seeing doubles of any of them is like not ideal usually. So the idea is like if you play 2 and 2, you got a better chance of seeing like 1 and 1 instead of like 2 of the same one. But yeah, like Tikaboo's not played a ton right now. Some decks that even can play it aren't playing it, except for maybe in the side. I get it. You could definitely roll with Gozen if you feel like it's better in the format. But I even feel like this is like when I go through the matchups of like what Gozen's really good against, it felt like Tikaboo's like pretty good versus those matchups too. I think There Can Be Only One's even better versus Flunders than Gozen is, and Gozen's decent. Obviously, this card's broken versus Sword Soul. They just lose to this. Punk is interesting because like versus the Punk engine specifically, they usually have to put 2 Psychics on the field to even go into Halki Fibrex, so you do force them to have another extender that's not a Psychic usually, I think, with this. So like that's the idea there. And then what is the other deck? I feel like I'm forgetting a deck. Like Despia doesn't really care about this too much, but like it is what it is. You can't hit all 5. In a format as diverse as this one, it's hard to play a Floodgate when like where at least one deck out of those top 5 like doesn't care too much about, but it's fine. It's only 2 copies. We're not going all the way in on it. And that's also, by the way, another cool reason why to play Gaga Gigo, because he's also a reptile. So if you see the 2-card play of, well, the 3-card combination of like Fish Sonar, Pacifist, and There Can Be Only One, you could literally end up with like Gaga Gigo, Megalo Smasher X, and the Worm token, and fully playing under Tikaboo, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that is it for the main deck. 40 in the main. Moving to the side, or not side, the extra is literally just punishment targets mostly. So double Intis only because of Extrav. Like this is the most important target, so you wanted to have the best chance of surviving an Extravagance. A couple other extra removal cards. Just in case like you don't need a pop at that exact moment in time you're activating punishment, you can send something that just kind of like puts your opponent on edge. They have to know that you have access to any of these removals at any point, and you know, kind of makes it hard, especially to deal with like a stun deck like this. 1 Omega, this card is kind of just graveyard removal. This card's really funny, the Trouble Sunny. So the idea with this is I've seen some decks in the OCG generically playing this card in the extra, where if you side Artemis Slay, the new spell that's coming in Power of the Elements, that can like, if you target a certain extra monster on the field, you like spin it, they can't respond to monster effects, and then you send a monster of the same type from your extra deck. So if you targeted a Link, like against Splites, you targeted their Link 2, which they can't respond with, so they won't be able to revive like a Toad or anything. You then send Trouble Sunny to spin that card, And then if you also side in one copy of the other Evil Twins, like Big Brick Monster, you'd be able to use this effect in grave to like non-targeting send any card on the field of the grave. So it makes like Artemis Slay like twice the ceiling, like insane card going second if you have that package. So that's cool. Boral Code Dragon. There's another cool package here because Boral Code says you can, let's see, banish this card from grave to banish a dark monster with 3,000 more attack from the field. And if you do, summon a topologic monster from the extra. What's also really cool is that Bomber also has synergy with this deck because if you have Pacifist up and Bomber, then when your opponent activates an effect, you get to summon a token. Like under Bomber, and then Bomber will trigger to like wipe the main monster zones. And then because like I said earlier, because Pacifist is not a once per turn at all on the token effect, since the token's now not on the field anymore because Bomber clears it himself, the next time they activate an effect, you do the same thing. Summon another token, wipe the main monster zones again. And Bomber's not hard once per turn either. So you just keep doing that infinitely as long as they have effects to activate. So it's a pretty cool combination there. I don't expect it to come up, but like it's funny. And the last one is, or I'm sorry, the last two are kind of more engine-y ones. Toad, this is just if you have one of your water vanillas in grave, you can add it back off of him. And then the Barren Blossom. This card is specifically where if, like I said, you need to find Pacifist. If you haven't found Pacifist, this does give us a draw one, put one back effect to just pray and Hail Mary, pray that you can find Pacifist if you don't already have it, and at least give you a chance to find it to try and like grind the duel out. But yeah, it's kind of a Hail Mary card. And the last stuff is just like a stupid little package. The idea here is like, if technically one, you open up double vanillas in hand and your opponent has like a Hulk engrave, you'd be able to go like summon normal one vanilla, make Link Spider, summon the second one, link those two into area revive Hulk, and then take those two into Avermax. And then you just have like, it was a 2-card Avermax. You were able to set like some of your back row skill drain, Tikaboo, strike, punishment behind him. This card can be annoying to get around. So like it gives you a way to play if you don't have Pacifist, but you just have too many vanillas. It's fine. I don't expect it to be good, but it's funny. It's certainly funny. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the extra and the main. This deck is really cool if you like slow decks, if you like the aesthetic of like, oh, I'm playing a deck that doesn't summon any effect monsters really. Like, that's really cheeky and cool. And I like slow stun decks that play a lot of trap cards. This deck is really sweet. So definitely look into it. I love this deck. It's really fun to play, not always to play against, but you know, it's cool. And it's better than ever. We've low-key gotten tools. Hopefully we'll low-key get more trap cards, more crazy stuff down the line, and this deck will be able to pounce on that stuff as well, but we'll just have to see when that comes. But yeah, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more deck profiles like this one from me down the line. And let me know in the comments your thoughts on the build. What would you change for your build personally? I'd love to hear your thoughts there. And yeah, peace.